Okay. Everyone has now joined.
Okay. All right, this is the, good evening, everybody. This is the Board of Education meeting for which adequate notice under the Open Public Meetings Act was provided by written notice on June 10, 2020 to the Courier News, the Echo Sentinel, the Star Ledger, Tappan to Warren, and the clerks of the Borough of Watchung and the townships of Greenbrook, Long Hill, and Warren. Roll call, please, Mr. Stiles.
Dr. Chan?
Yes.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Hayek?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Ms. Zober?
Yes.
Ms. Potter?
Yes.
Dr. Shabilsky?
Yeah.
Ms. Raban?
Yes.
And Ms. Brown.
Yes. So I'm going to try our Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready for, okay, let me shoot up. I will share my screen. Oh, it keeps going back. There we go.
All right. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so can I have a motion to move us into executive session in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act to discuss confidential personnel, student and legal matters, student safety and security, and WHREA negotiations governed by the attorney-client privilege, after which action may be taken. It is expected that the matters discussed in executive session will be made public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody, we'll be back in about a half an hour.
Okay, so I will move everyone all the public into the waiting room, and I'll let the board know when that is done. Everyone's back in, Rita, so we're good.
Okay, all right. So there's no board correspondence, so I think we can go right into superintendent's comments.
Okay, so I have a couple of things to go over tonight. Once a year, I am required to just provide our HIB grade report, and that's the result of a self-assessment that we do. And this is actually our 2018-2019 grade report. We submit that in the fall, and then the state notifies us that they've accepted the grade, and they just actually notified us, and it's posted on our website. This is just a self-assessment has to do with our compliance to the HIB statute and everything that goes along with it. So just as in past years, we scored a 78 out of 78 on the assessment with regard to our compliance of implementing that law. The other piece is twice a year, we have to give our school safety data system report. It used to be the EVVRS report. Now it's the SSDS report. So the report I'm giving is actually on the first half of the year. It's from July 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. And this just summarizes the incidents of violence, vandalism, weapons, and substance abuse. So we had 2 incidents of violence, 2 incidents of vandalism, 1 reported weapon, and 17 cases of substance abuse. And the one thing that I always say when I give this report every year, it's very hard to draw conclusions from these numbers if they're more than the prior year, if they're less than the prior year, because if they're more, it could mean that we're doing a better job of identifying students and getting students help. And if they're less, you know, that could be a good thing, or you know, it's very hard to determine. So it's just another piece of data that we're able to use, you know, as we assess our school policies and procedures and the various programs that we have. Okay, there are a couple other things. Oh, and I'm sorry, with regard to our HIB incidents, that's part of the SSDS report as well. For the period from July to December, we had 1 alleged HIV incident, but 0 confirmed HIV incidents. So a couple other things. Tomorrow night, hopefully everyone received the information on registration around the session that we're having tomorrow night, strategies to engage in conversations around race. So this is going to be tomorrow, June 17th at 6 p.m. It is, in addition to the email that was sent out, there is a pop-up on our district homepage with the registration link. So that will be occurring tomorrow night virtually. And the focus of this session is to equip participants with strategies around how to effectively engage in conversations around race. And it is being facilitated by Megan Fucciarelli, who is the Executive Director and Principal Consultant of Us2 Consulting. They are the same group that we've worked with who has provided training to our staff, to our students, and they helped us organize the United Against Hate event in the fall. So we're working with them once again, and in terms of planning this event, our Diversity Club students, our Black Student Union, our equity team, we're all involved in this, and 2 of our students are actually our incoming president for the Black Student Union, and the Diversity Club will be providing an introduction to the event tomorrow night. So we're hoping that we have good attendance, and we're looking at this to be the first in a series of events around this that we're going to be continuing to do. As well as I'd indicated in the letter that was sent out last week that we are also looking at our curriculum, we're looking at our policies and procedures, so there's a lot of longer term efforts that we are doing some work around as well. And, oh, last but not least, with regard to graduation, we did get the survey closed today, and the principal did send out an update. So the response from the students, we had about 300 of our graduating class of 480 respond to the survey, and it was 2 to 1 overwhelmingly that they wanted one ceremony with their classmates. As you all probably heard, the governor did say that it is likely that he expects by July 6th for the capacity for outdoor events to be increased to 500. So that does allow us to have one ceremony with all of the students. So that's what we're planning for. The only wrinkle in that plan would be if that capacity is not increased, and we'll adjust if we need to, and we'll go back to having multiple ceremonies with the students. But right now it looks like we will likely be able to have one ceremony with all the students, and that means we won't be able to have the live musical performances, although our our instrumental and vocal music teachers have been working with those kids to do something really, really cool virtually that we'll be able to show on that day. But we're working on being able to have the actual speeches live during the ceremonies, which I think will be nice, and a lot of the, hopefully a lot of the traditional portions of the ceremony we're hoping to incorporate that day. It will be in the morning, so I know people will have to get up early because we need to try and avoid the oppressive heat that occurs on the turf in the summer. But I'm looking forward to it. This has evolved tremendously from what we initially thought we were going to be able to do for graduation. So we're excited that we're able to do this for the seniors. So we'll, and we'll obviously be paying attention to the capacity increases, hopefully over the next couple of weeks. Peter, do I see a hand raised?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, do we have a rain date?
Oh, yes, and all those details will be going out later this week, but what we're looking at is July 8th. If for some reason, like we've had in the past, there's just, it's supposed to be clearer, later that morning, it could just be a rain delay, but we're looking at July 8th, the morning of July 8th for the ceremony, with the morning of July 9th as a possible rain date. So we're gonna let everyone know that. Naresh, do you have a question as well?
Unmute yourself.
There you go, I got you.
So my question is that you still have flag, or the flag part is canceled now?
Oh, the signs. Remember we were talking about the signs, I think?
Yeah.
Right with the signs.
That is canceled now.
I don't really want to reveal some of the things we're trying to do for the seniors, but I can email you after. I can email you after the meeting.
No, next time you have to
Okay. No
Sorry,
problem. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I don't think I actually told you that. I don't think we've shared that with them. So
Okay. I apologize.
No, that's quite all right. Friday we are having a drive-through last day parade for the seniors. So we will have staff members socially distanced on campus for the students to come drive by between 11:30 and 11:45. And we're trying to make the campus look a little festive.
Nobody listens to us anyway, so it doesn't
So
matter.
we're working on that. No problem at all, because I don't think I specified if that was a public or not. So,
All right.
and I think that is everything I had in my comments, which is probably quite enough. Thank you.
And I don't have really any comments other than I do want to thank on behalf of the board the student representatives for kind of hanging in there with us, and we're sorry that it wasn't the same type of experience that would have been if we would have been in the school building the whole time, and also recognize all our retirees and thank you for their years of service, and we're all going to miss you. So that's the extent of my comments. Mr. Size, do you have any comments this evening?
I do. Just want to give the board a little bit of an update on the construction projects. You know, we have the media center project. The demolition has started. The room is not completely gutted, but it's getting there. It's that's going on. The electrical project in the south building, although that's going to be a little bit down the road. We were able to actually donate the shelving to another school. So we were pretty happy about that. It was Mawa. Through the contractor, we found out that they were in need. So rather than throwing it out, someone's at least is getting to use it, which is nice. And then the security walls in the back are being put up as we speak. They got the footings poured and the steel frames are going in. They have put the sign, at least they gave us the color options to pick. So we're kind of, the front building, the awning sign that says Watchung Hills Regional High School. Wish we had it for this week, but so what? It's a large lead time to get that in, so we're not going to have it, unfortunately. But the tennis court folks poured down the first, like a sand layer, like a paint sand layer. Not quite the finished one, but that's progressing, and that'll be done within a month. So just wanted to give you guys an update. Things are still moving along.
All right.
Susan, did you have your hand raised, or are you good?
I was going to ask about the tennis courts.
Gotcha. Moving along.
Okay. So we're on to recognition of our student representatives.
Okay, so, and I did see Jed had signed in, so I think he's the only one of our three that's here. But this is such a tough year in terms of acknowledgement for so many people, because we don't get to have our traditional recognition for everyone. And I know our student reps, unfortunately, their year got cut short in terms of being able to join our board meetings. However, Kayla and Jed, it was their second year. One of the nice things that we did between last year and this year is we had, various classes of student representatives on our board, so that we were able to have a transition. Because last year, I believe we had a 12th, 11th, and a 10th grader. And this year, same thing, which is nice. So we have a variety of grade levels. So hopefully, of our three representatives, we have Jed Ober, who's a sophomore, Kayla Park, who's a senior, and Alexandra Schmitz, who is a junior. And Jed and Kayla both served for us last year. So I'm hoping that they will continue to do so next year. I'm sorry, that Jed and Alex will continue to do so next year, so that we have some consistency, and so they get another chance since their year got cut short. But I really want to thank them for their time. These are students that are very involved in a lot of activities in the school. As you know, many of our students have so many commitments, and so the fact that they gave their time to us to come to the board meetings, to share their thoughts, I really enjoyed meeting with them. And I just the three of you, like I said, I think Jed, you're on here, so I want to personally thank you. And so it's also, I know that Mr. Size, Ms. Scheiderman, and I really just enjoy getting to know you guys as well. So we really enjoy our conversations with you, and you will be getting a little appreciation gift in the mail on behalf of the board members, Mr. Size, Ms. Scheiderman, and myself. So that should be arriving later this week, so you can look for that. And Mrs. Ober, I see you have your hand raised.
Just that Jed's a junior.
Oh, yes, he is. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I was going to say, because I knew,
Senior,
yes, because he was on it last year. See, I have had a lot of trouble this year with things that happened in the fall. I'm convinced they were last school year. So everything melts together. So thank you. Yes. So Jed and Alex are both juniors. So I'm hoping they'll be able to continue with us next year. And Kayla is a senior. Thank you. Okay, so that's the student recognition piece. And now I have the honor of recognizing our retirees. And again, you know, I'm sure that after many, many years of selfless service by these employees, they certainly did not picture their year of retirement like this. And they certainly did not picture the end of their last year like this. So I would like to read a resolution for each of them. And I'm hoping that they won't hate me for doing this, but I am going to display their picture while I talk about them. Normally I ask them to come up and stand with me, and since I can't do that, I would like to display their picture, because I also think for members of the public who watch this, for example, Ileana has been in our main office for years. So many people see her, and I think when they see her face up here from the public, you know, they will realize that they've spoken to her many times, and she has helped them out tremendously. So I think it's important to have their faces up here so that everyone knows exactly who they are and who I'm speaking about. So I'm going to start off with Ileana's resolution. This proclamation regarding Ileana Azar shall be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16th, 2020. Whereas Ileana Azar has provided the students of Watchung Hills with attentive assistance, always with a smile on her face. And whereas she interacted with our parents and community in a positive, engaging, and supportive manner. And whereas she has contributed to the lightheartedness and helpful atmosphere of the main office. And whereas her pragmatic approach to situations has resulted in the successful running of the main office. And whereas she has earned the respect and admiration of her colleagues and will truly be missed by all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Ileana Azar's 17 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes her a happy and healthy retirement to pursue her passions, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. So if everyone can give Ileana a round of applause. So Ileana, thank you so much for all of your service, and we wish you all the best. And as I can't see the participant part of the meeting right now, if any of the retirees would like to say anything when we get to the first public comment session, you know, certainly raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you. Okay, so next we have Mrs. Jaslov. There she is. And Susan has seen the transformation of our culinary arts program, and she was instrumental in after we did the renovation in transitioning from the prior structure of the program to more of a culinary arts program from the home ec program. And you know, she really has done a tremendous job in getting that program off the ground and in utilizing the new space that we have. This proclamation regarding Susan Jaslov to be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16th, 2020. Whereas Susan Jaslov was first employed by Watchung Hills Regional High School on November 17th, 2010 as a foods teacher. And whereas her expertise and passion for children have influenced more than 2,000 students and spanned more than 14,000 class lessons over 10 years. And whereas she has been instrumental in training and developing future culinary artists with her knowledge of the nutrition, world cuisine, etiquette, and culinary technique. And whereas she has shown devotion to her students and countless preschoolers in providing a loving and nurturing experience in class. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Susan Jaslov's 10 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes her a healthy and happy retirement to pursue her passions of healthy cooking, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. Thank you, Susan. Next, we have Mrs. Sales. So I have had the pleasure of working with Marianne in her capacity as SLE coordinator when I first came to the district, and now as Director of Special Services. And I have learned a tremendous amount from her. And she has already been very actively mentoring our incoming Director of Special Services. And, I joked today in our meeting that we're sucking the life out of Marianne from now until her last day on June 30th. As you know, she has been very active in helping us plan for the summer and for next year. And I'm tremendously appreciative to her leadership in special education within our district, and to the support that she has provided to me in that area over the past number of years. This proclamation regarding Marianne Sales shall be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16th, 2020. Whereas Marianne Sales was first employed by Watchung Hills Regional High School in September 1989, and whereas she has been noted for her ability to coordinate a vast array of responsibilities, from teaching students across content areas to directing all aspects of the Special Services Department, and to do so with innovation and skill. And whereas her expertise as an educator, her vast knowledge of learning disabilities, and her boundless supply of compassion have made her invaluable to our school. And whereas she is a highly respected educator who has taught for 18 years at Watchung Hills, was the color guard advisor, class advisor, and all school council advisor for 10 years, instituted and implemented the SLE program for 9 years, and director of special services for 5 years. And whereas after an outstanding career as a teacher, advisor, and administrator who put people first and dedicated her life to helping others, she has decided to retire. And whereas she has been and will remain a model of advocacy in our school. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Regional Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Marianne Sales' 31 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes her a healthy and happy retirement to pursue her passions, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. Thank you so much, Marianne. Okay, next we have Herb Schultz, and I'm going to leave his resolution up here. He's lucky that I don't have a picture of him to put up here, so I will speak to his resolution. So Herb has been one of our bus drivers for quite a long time, and so he's retiring after many years of service to our district. And he has probably encountered as many, if not more, students as our teaching staff does over a career. This proclamation regarding Herbert Schultz Jr. shall be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16th, 2020. Whereas Herbert Schultz was first employed by Watchung Hills Regional High School in September 1994, and for the past 29 years has served professionally as a school bus driver. And whereas he has garnered the respect and admiration of those who interacted with him for his loyalty to our students and staff. And whereas he has had an impeccable driving record and has demonstrated his commitment to our students by providing transportation for clubs, sports, and field trips. His dedication to our district has been outstanding, and he has served with honesty and integrity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Herbert Schultz Jr.'s 29 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes him a happy and healthy retirement to pursue his passions, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. Thank you so much, Herb, for all of your years of service. Next, we have Miss Lori Shoemaker, a member of our math department. And Ms. Shoemaker has been a tremendous mentor to the number of new hires that we've had in that department over recent years. Excuse me. And I know she's going to be tremendously missed by the department and by the students. This proclamation regarding Lori Schumacher shall be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16, 2020. Whereas Lori Schumacher was first employed by Watchung Hills Regional High School in September 1982. And whereas she has been noted for her commitment to education, strong bonds with students and staff, unmatched passion for mathematical instruction, and sense of humor. And whereas because of her expertise as a learner, her knowledge of mathematics, and her ability to motivate all levels of students, she has been invaluable to the school as a whole. And whereas she is a lifelong learner whose ability to continue both her and her students' knowledge of technology, mathematics, and the art of learning. And whereas after an outstanding career as a teacher who has defined the mathematics department at WHRHS for decades, taught generations of families, and shown us all what a math teacher can be, she has decided to retire. And whereas she has been a stalwart in the mathematics department for 38 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Regional Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Lori Schumacher's 38 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes her a happy and healthy retirement to pursue her passions, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. Thank you so much, Lori. And we have one more remaining, and I think I did see her in the audience tonight, Mrs. Bobby Vargo. And so Bobby retired mid-year this year, and she was probably one of the first faces I saw at the school. Literally, she was the first face at the school every day, because I think she was the first employee on campus every day, since she was the one who always coordinated our substitutes and dealt with our staff absences. And she always had a smile on her face, was just, always very, very helpful and enthusiastic about her job. And I know, she was very torn about her decision to leave, because Watchung Hills, she treated it like her family. So I'm glad that she was able to join us tonight so that we can officially acknowledge her retirement. This proclamation regarding Barbara Vargo shall be read at the public meeting of the Watchung Hills Regional High School Board of Education on June 16th, 2020. Whereas Barbara Vargo was first employed by Watchung Hills Regional High School in August 1991 and has served our school district as attendance clerk and secretary to the vice principal. And whereas she has been a highly effective professional whose trustworthiness, commitment, and institutional knowledge have been the cornerstones of her career at Watchung Hills. And whereas over the last 28 years, she has earned the respect and admiration of others for her empathy, thoughtfulness, and emotional intelligence. And whereas she has been a loyal assistant to 2 vice principals, staff parking coordinator, and facilitator par excellence of student awards, certificates, and ceremonies. And whereas in one of her more important responsibilities as a substitute teacher coordinator, she was known by the staff and substitute teachers for her scheduling prowess, attention to detail, as well as her coffee and treats. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Hills Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude for Barbara Vargo's 29 years of service and devotion to our school, and wishes her a happy and healthy retirement to pursue her passions, travel, and whatever adventures lie ahead. Bobby, thank you so much for all your years of service.
Thanks, Bobby.
So to all of the retirees, we will miss you tremendously. And I know me saying that is even, can't even match how our students and staff are going to feel. But you have been a tremendous, tremendous asset to our school. And, to our newer staff, you have been tremendous mentors. And to me, I have to say, from each and every one of you, I have learned from you. So thank you so much for your service. And for those of you that could join us tonight, I'm happy that you're here so we could at least attempt to honor all of your amazing contributions to the district. So thank you. That is the end of the recognition.
Okay, too bad that we can have some cake.
Virtual cake.
Yeah, I mean, it's bittersweet to have to do it this way, but I'm glad that we were able to take the opportunity to thank everybody. And those proclamations, I was thinking about how you have to put all those together and the personal words that come out of it. And I think that on behalf of the board, that's personal is the way we feel about all of you leaving. It's all personal to all of us. So thank you for your service, as Dr. Jewett has indicated. So we're going to move forward with committee reports. And I have operations first. Peter?
Yes. First thing I'm going to do is refer all the board members to the first thing on the notes, rather than discuss them here, about a $3,800 purchase that we'll be seeing in the next few days at the school. Beyond that, we Tim brought us up to date on the year-end reserves, and it looks like depending on how much aid gets cut, we could put up to $2.6 million into 3 separate categories of reserves, and he proposed, and the committee agreed to recommend to the board that be up to $100,000 in our tuition reserve account, $500,000 in our maintenance reserve account, and $2 million in our capital reserve account. We also did have an indication that from the preliminary numbers that came out, it may be about $151,000 of aid that gets cut from the state this year, and the plan would be to reduce either the maintenance or the capital reserve or some combination of those two by that amount to balance the budget. Next thing we talked about was the technology purchases, which you will see on tonight's agenda as Resolution D23, and some fairly pricey technology that'll be going into the new media center and learning space. And a number of questions were asked by the committee members about the input from various people, and as Dr. Jewett told us, it was not just the administrative staff, but also input from teachers who would actually be using these things to give us some guidance on making sure we're purchasing things that'll actually get used. Tim gave us the construction update in the business administrator's report. There had been received a request for senior parking fee refunds, which the committee discussed and suggested that we not refund student parking fees, in part because that's a good bit of that money has already gone to Project Graduation, which is still planning activities for this year and for next year as well. In addition to moving on to state aid revisions, in addition to the $150,000 that I mentioned, that looks like what our aid may be reduced by, Tim Stiles also told us that there's a CARES Act grant available to the district for up to $31,000, and that FEMA is also offering to refund 75% of the costs of COVID-19 supplies up to $130,000. And he also mentioned the district has $17,000 from our SHIFT, the insurance fund that we're part of, that can be used for COVID-19 wellness supplies. The final thing we covered in operations was the transportation contracts, both questions of resolution of the costs for this year. We've reached a settlement with one of the bus companies, and we're still in negotiations with the others. And that means that at tonight's meeting, we're going to be approving a contract for next year for that one bus company that we've reached a settlement with, because they've agreed to the same terms, and we're holding off agreeing to transportation contracts with the other bus companies until we see if we can reach an agreement on how much they would get paid in the event they're not actually transporting students. And that was what we covered in the operations committee. Any questions? Thanks, Rita.
Okay, so, and then negotiations, I don't know that we have update other than we're in. Greg, I don't know what you want to say.
What I would say is that given the potential limitations of fall sports, we are in discussions with the association to discuss potential options depending on what guidance we receive from the Sports Association. It's estimated that some form of at least practice can start in mid-July, And we are told that there will be more guidance as to how the fall sports season might look like by the end of this week. So stay tuned, and we'll update you as we get information.
Any questions on that, anybody? Okay. All right, thank you. So now we're going to move into the first opportunity for public comment. The first public comment period is limited to agenda items for this meeting only. The second public comment period will be open to any topic. All comments are limited to 5 minutes. Please raise your hand using the raise your hand button, and Dr. Jewett will recognize you. And then, as you would in public, please state your name and where you're from, and state your comments.
And as always, I'll just add into that if anyone has trouble with the raise their hand feature, they can email me, and I can always call on them during the next public comment portion. Give everyone a minute. I do not see any hands raised, Ms. Barone.
Okay. All right, I'm going to close the first period for public comment.
Oh, hold on. We have somebody, one of our
Okay.
retirees said she doesn't see the raise her hand function, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to call on her.
Okay.
Mr. Sales?
Okay. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
So good evening. I'd like to thank the Board of Education for your trust and confidence in me as an educator and an educational leader over the years. I'd like to thank the community for welcoming me each and every one of the last 31 years. Dr. Jewett, I'd like to thank you for your ongoing and unwavering support and encouragement. I'd like to recognize the Child Study Team, whose dedication and commitment to students has been unmatched, and the talented special education teachers and their educational partners in the general education. Watchung Hill's teachers are all creative and talented educators, and it's been my great pleasure to work with them. It's been my pleasure and honor to serve Watchung Hills these past 31 years, and while I'll miss my colleagues, my husband and I look forward to traveling, spending more time with family and friends, and a much slower pace of life. So I thank you all very much for this great honor and recognition this evening. I've had lots of thank yous and acknowledgements over Zoom the last couple of days. It's a very strange environment, but I do appreciate you all being here and acknowledging the work that I've done at Watchung Hills. I wish you all well and a successful start to the next school year as well.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Tim.
Can't get it.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Hello?
That's Bobby.
Yes,
Oh, Bobby, go right ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for the lovely resolution. All my years there have been wonderful. It was a privilege to work there. I met so many wonderful young people and educators. And being an educator myself, it was working both sides of the desk. I ended up at Watchung Hills after being assaulted in the classroom. And I swore I'd never get behind that desk again, but I was so happy to be behind the desk in all my different capacities. But I want to thank you for the opportunity, for the wonderful people I've met, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. Maybe I'll come back and sub.
We hope you do.
I probably will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and I don't actually see any of the other retirees signed on here. Some of them were on before when we read the resolutions.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Rita.
All right. So we can go into board discussion. Is there any discussions of the addendum items first? Naresh?
Unmute.
I got you, Naresh. Hold on. Oh, I can't. Naresh,
sorry.
yeah, there you go.
Right. Item number A12.
A12.
So it talks about the evaluation on June 18. June 18 is the end of the year. I'm just wondering, why is it necessary for a school to do it? This evaluation of this
I don't know if
student.
is that something that you can even respond to in terms of a confidentiality issues or?
Okay.
Not other than Naresh, our evaluations actually go on year round. So that's
I
not
see.
something that would only be necessarily September 1 to June 30th.
But
Well,
should it be done by the family doctor? I mean, instead of the school doctor, I mean, why should the district pay, school pay for it, right? I mean, they may have the health insurance, right? The family.
Well, I was going to ask that. I think it would be reasonable for a brief explanation about why the school would order or pay for a psychiatric evaluation of a student.
Yeah.
Under what circumstances
Matt,
we
do you
would do
want
that.
to, do you mind just commenting on that? I believe this is what we talked about earlier today.
I'm sorry, did you ask me?
Yes, would you mind just
Cut out.
elaborating on that? Thank you.
For child study team evaluations?
Yes.
Yeah, so the district is responsible for the cost of a child study team evaluation. Depending upon the suspected area of disability, a psychiatric evaluation could be designated as part of that evaluation, and so it's the district's responsibility.
Okay.
By law.
Thank you. Yes,
Just so
thank
you
you.
guys are clear.
thank you.
So the next question I have is about item numbers C17. So this, we are trying to hire this data manager, Christine Beckert, only for 1 month.
So this is
So-
not an addendum item and it's a personnel item. So we really.
Oh, I see. Oh, this is not an item. I'm sorry.
No. And so it was discussed in personnel like 2 or 3 weeks ago, if you recall,
Okay.
an executive session,
Okay.
and it would have been in the blue notes.
Okay, great. Okay. No more questions.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions on addendum items? Oops. Okay. Seeing none.
One other item for board discussion, Rita, regarding next week, if we can.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to do it now, I end up doing those
You
at
can
the
do it
end.
later. That's fine.
It's
I just didn't-
easier if I do all the
Yep,
kind of
that's fine.
what we got to talk about at the end. Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
All right.
That's totally fine.
All right. So we're going to move into action items. Can I have a motion to move some action items, please?
Madam President, I'd like to move resolutions A1 through A5 and A13.
Second.
Any questions or comments on A1 through A5 and A13? Seeing, hearing none, roll call please, Mr. Stiles?
Dr. Chand,
Yes.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Hayek,
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger,
Yes.
Mr. Morrison,
Bob?
You. Sorry. Yes.
Mrs. Ober,
Yes.
Ms. Potter,
Yes.
Dr. Shabilsky,
Yes.
Ms. Raban,
Yes.
and Ms. Barone.
Yes.
Okay, motion's carried.
Madam President, I'd like to move resolutions A6 through A12 and A14.
Second.
Any questions or comments on A6 through 12 and A14? Seeing, hearing none, Mr. Stiles, roll call, please.
Dr. Chand,
Yes.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Hayek,
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger,
Yes.
Mr. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Ober,
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Shabilsky,
Yes.
Ms. Raban,
Yes.
and Ms. Barone.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Madam President, I'd like to move resolutions C1 through C24.
Second.
Any questions or comments pertaining to C1 through C24? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Stiles, roll call, please.
Dr. Chand,
Yes.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Hayek,
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger,
Yes.
Mr. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Ober?
Yes.
Hold on one sec, sorry. Got the wrong name on one of my lists, sorry. Okay, Ms. Potter?
Yes.
Want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Dr. Shabilsky?
Yes.
Ms. Raban?
Yes.
And Ms. Barone?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Madam President, I'd like to move resolutions D1 through D24 and D27 through D29.
Second.
Any questions or comments on those resolutions?
Yeah,
I have
Madam
a question.
President.
Oh, Mr. Size first. Let's find out what's
Yeah,
going on.
before Dr. Chan's question
Yeah.
on.
So my question is about,
Wait, Dr. Chen, can you just wait 1 second? Mr. Size, I think, wants to clarify something before you ask your question.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, on the trash removal bid, which is number, not a lot of these. Okay,
It
number
was what?
21.
21?
Total, yeah, the total number we have down is 22,900. That
Yes.
should be 22,500.
Okay. So
It's really the first two numbers, the Watchung Hills numbers and the Watchung K to 8. The per dumpster is, it just depends on how many dumpsters, but the first two numbers added together should be 22,500.
All right.
So sorry about that, Naresh.
Okay, so we
No
just,
problem, no problem.
do we want to just make that motion real quick and then we'll have the question?
I'll move to amend D21 so that the total amount is 22,500.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Naresh, you had a question.
Yeah, so question was about D13.
13.
Normally, when we have the agent, insurance agent, the agent get the commission from the insurance company and not from the customer. So here we are paying commission to the agent. So I just need a clarification here.
So it is embedded in the premium, Naresh, in this particular.
I see.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
embedded. But
and
then
the
why
pre-
do we need a separate approval for this?
Because the public and the board has to know what the compensation of this professional is. It's a professional service, and you should know what they're earning. The
Oh, I see.
percentages, yeah. Just so you know, the percentages are based on what the School Alliance Insurance Fund, which is a group of school districts, decide.
Okay, so we are not paying extra money to this person, right? To this agent, right?
Correct.
Whatever
Right.
gets from the
part of
insurance company.
It's part of the premium that we pay.
Okay. Now, another question I have, we discussed last time, but I still have this, I'm not very clear in my head, D14. This is the recurring expense that we had to pay every year, for D14. Yeah, D14, right?
Right.
So, for this
The
agent, right?
agent's
So this is,
compensation.
yeah, it's a lot of money, 96,000. So is it every year or it is one-time payment? It's just that you require, approval every year. How does this work?
Yeah, so it is annual. And it's something that we do an RFP for every 3 years. So I think this is the last year of it. So I think we're going to be doing an RFP next year. But yeah, it's a competitive process and we do pay it.
See, the insurance company, they have the fixed rate. I'm not sure whether you can negotiate much. I'm just wondering, 96,000 is a lot of money.
Naresh, all these rates are negotiated with the insurance companies on this, and this particular advisor and other advisors, when we hire them, they perform a lot of services for us, not just negotiating rates, but also providing services to our employees who make claims against the insurance. So there's a wide range of things that they're doing for that $96,000. And over the years, this particular broker has saved us many times that in recommendations for moving into different products.
I see. But I know that most of these schools are using the same two company at Delta. So I'm not sure, what kind of negotiations or benefit because.
So it's just not, if you look at the resolution itself, it lists what their services are, right? So if you look at the second paragraph, it's not just going out and getting premium calls and saying, okay, and plus we're a public entity, so it's a little bit more, it's more complicated than a private entity. Because I know I do that for my business, but I call a broker, and I understand I don't pay a broker extra. I get what you're saying, but they do marketing, financial analysis. They make sure we're in compliance with all our public regulations. They help us with collective bargaining if we're negotiating health benefits through the collective bargaining process, and member claim service, which is what Peter is saying. So like if someone has a claim and they're having a coverage problem, we can go to the broker to do all that. So it's a bundle of services that they're providing. It's not just going on some sort of a database and picking, is it Aetna or Blue Cross Blue Shield this time, or AmeriHealth? Like, here's your 3 options. It's much more complicated.
My experience is that when you have any business, they cannot charge different amount from different government organizations. They have to certify that rate are uniform, that they are charging the same rate from everyone. So if more than one school is using these 2 companies, so they cannot charge one rate from one school and a different rate from different school. So I am not sure what negotiations are involved in terms of finalizing the premium and all that. Now, Rita, what you say that they provide additional service, now that's a different matter. But as far as the negotiations are concerned, that's where I had the trouble. That I'm not sure whether you have any leverage to negotiate, because these companies, they can go to jail, right? If they charge one rate from one school system and a different rate from different school system.
Rita, just so you know, I'm not sure if either of them want to respond to this, but Dr. Spilsky and Mr. Morrison have their hands raised.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just in case you didn't see.
Morrison wanted to say something. Bob, do you have something to add? I don't know how else to explain it than I already have, but.
So I think, first of all, I believe we discussed this at the last meeting as well. So, I mean, that's the purpose of having the preview items, is so that we can address these in advance. That said, Brown and Brown over the years have provided tremendous services for us and has guided us to be able to save a significant amount of money in what we're doing. And the fees that the fees that we pay to them are similar to the fees that they charge other school districts themselves. When I look at what other districts are paying for these items at our county board meetings, the Brown and Brown number is the same from district to district. So I don't think it's a matter of going in and negotiating, another rate for them. I mean, they have this is what you pay for the services that they provide. Either you find that they've been beneficial, or you haven't. Certainly, as it relates to the negotiations, they've been, very, very good for us. And also, when we've had problems, they've been responsive in dealing with issues regarding, either the new carriers that we got in, and there was a little bit of upheaval with some of the transition for our teachers, and they were in there, working, on our behalf to straighten things out. So this is, to me, this of all the contracts we approve, this one to me is a no-brainer. Personal opinion.
Greg, did you have something else to say?
I have something on another item, but just to add on to what Peter and Bob and Rita have discussed, the breadth of services that they're providing, I think, are understated even in the resolution. So, for example, in advance of identifying a substantial rate increase because of our experience, they will look at potential other options. And over the past decade or so that I've been on the board, they have identified alternative options that have helped us manage our costs in a very responsible way without really disrupting substantively the experience of our employees. Whenever we make that change, there's an education that has to occur, and so they are responsible for providing that education. They're providing the support behind it. And if it were not them, we would be going to somebody else at a similar, if not higher cost. And that's why on an every 3-year basis, this among all of our professional services, we send out to bid again. get the competitive landscape and see if they are still providing services at a reasonable rate for what service we're achieving. And we've been very satisfied with them during at least my tenure on the board.
Okay, Greg.
Well, I heard that, but I'm not convinced because last 40 years I'm using health insurance company. I never went to any other company. So I would like this item to be voted separately, from the rest of the agenda.
You can abstain or vote no. I don't know why we need to vote it separately. And
because I'm not, I'm not going to vote yes for this item.
If I'm not mistaken.
Suresh, you can do that. You can vote yes for everything else and no just for that. We don't have to vote
Okay.
separately.
Yeah, we
Just
don't have
say
to
no
vote
on-
separately.
Or
Okay,
abstain on
that's
D.
fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
okay. All right, Greg, though, you said you had another question or comment about the agenda items?
More just a comment and just to be consistent with our past practice, I just wanted to select out D27 and on behalf of the board, I thank the Ernst Wessel Foundation, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, for the $7,000 donation for student scholarships. We always like to acknowledge publicly and verbally such generous contributions, and we thank you for that.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the resolutions that are up for vote under D? Okay. Mr. Sties, roll call, please.
Okay, we're voting on D1 through D24 and 27, D27 and 29 through 29.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Dr. Chand?
Yes for everything, but for the item D14, no. Yes for everything and no for D14.
Okay, just D14. Okay. Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Hayek?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Ober?
Yes.
Ms. Potter?
Yes.
Dr. Shabilsky?
Yes.
Ms. Raban?
Yes.
And Ms.
Me?
Yep.
No, I didn't hear you. Sorry, yes.
The dog.
Tim, did you get the dog's vote in there?
Yes.
The dog voted yes.
It was the Ober dog, right?
I think it was the Hunsinger dog.
It was one.
Madam President, I'd like to move resolutions D25 and D26.
Second.
Any questions or comments on D25 or D26? Okay. All right, seeing, hearing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Chand?
Yes.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Hayek?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Ober?
Yes.
Dr. Shabilsky?
Yes.
Ms. Raban?
Yes.
And Ms. Barone?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
We now have our second opportunity for public comment. Thank you. The dog wanted to make a comment. Please use the raise your hand function and we can recognize you. Please state your name and where you're from.
And if anyone has trouble with the raise your hand function, I'm scrolling across all of the screens, so you can also use the reaction button at the bottom if that's easier for you. I'm looking at everyone's screens right now.
Okay.
I do not see any.
All right.
Oh, hold on. I do, sorry. I see a reaction. Brenda Nemchek has
Okay.
the hand and the thumbs up. So Brenda, would you like to speak?
I just wanted to say hi, and that was not my dog.
Okay.
Thanks, Brenda.
All right. So I'm closing the second opportunity for public comment. In other business, we wanted to pick the strategic plan meeting date, right? Dr. Jewett, that's what you wanted me to bring up?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we were looking at the 24th, but I don't know if we had everybody respond to that.
Yeah, we
And
were looking at Wednesday, the 24th at 6 p.m. And so I got a smattering of responses, but since we're trying to get as many people as possible, I just kind of, before we schedule that, I wanted to see if those who hadn't, if that works for them.
I thought that we had settled on that at the last board meeting. I have that in my notes.
We settled on that at the, when we had the committee meeting where it came up, and I had some board members there, but then I was reaching out to the rest of the board to find out.
Okay.
How long is it going to be?
About 5 or 6 hours.
No, only because I have a 5 o'clock meeting and a 7 o'clock meeting, but if it's only going to be an hour, I could do that.
It'll be longer than an hour.
it'll probably be longer.
It's going to be long, I think. I think it should be long.
I could do for an hour and then I'll have to cut out. This is the 24th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry.
Okay. But otherwise, everybody's good?
Yes.
I had emailed Dr. Dewitt a little bit earlier. I will be traveling from upstate New York. I probably will make 6 o'clock, but maybe late depending on.
So do we want to try the following week, maybe? I'd rather have I think it's important enough to have everybody there.
The other reason we wanted to do it next week is in case we have a couple items we have to approve prior to June 30th. I know that was one of the reasons we were looking at next week.
But I thought one of those reasons was kind of put on the wayside.
But Tim, you still have a couple other contracts that we may need to do, correct?
Yeah, well, I still have the transportation contracts out there.
I mean, we can look at that's really the only other one. The other option, I don't know what folks' schedules are like, but if they're a little more flexible now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an evening meeting. If people would prefer a morning meeting, I know now I'm throwing everything out there, but
I'm still working.
Rita, I would be able to call in at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
But I may not be able to be visible on Zoom. Again, assuming that things don't work out. If things work out, it should
All right.
Okay.
So Janine, is it a problem? Do you feel concerned that you'll only be able to participate for an hour?
No, as long as you guys don't care, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, the purpose of this is to agree on the themes and make sure that what we have categorized under the themes, that we're not missing anything, and we might need to add. So, I mean, an hour, maybe an hour and a half, I don't see it being, a lot longer than that, but because we've already had a lot of discussion about it, unless we have some other agenda items that end up being part of that meeting.
Well, I think since we've had our discussion, there's been a major change in the culture or in the world, and I think that ought to be incorporated into our discussion. So I think there's a lot more work we have to do.
Unless we're all in agreement, and then it'll be quick.
Unless we're all in agreement. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm the only one. But the Teachers Association came out with a public statement. The five superintendents came out with a public statement, and I think that we have to consider that sentiment. Sorry about my dog. That sentiment in our strategic plan, and I don't think it's appropriately reflected right now in the themes that we've identified. So I think there's a lot we have to talk about.
All right, well, we can start, and if for some reason it comes to a point where we feel like we need another meeting, we'll have another meeting.
Sounds good.
So we'll schedule it for 6 o'clock on June 24th via Zoom?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to make the pitch again, even though I didn't work on it over the weekend. We have to do the superintendent's evaluation. So we're all going to do it this weekend. And on the 24th, I'm going to have mine done this weekend, and then I'm going to start emailing everybody. Because I remember there was a partner at my office used to complain when we didn't get our billings in, and he said, I can't start harassing everybody till I got my own billing in. So that's what I'm going to do.
We'll do it.
All right, any other business?
Dr. Shabilsky has a hand raised, and I think, Bob, were you raising your hand as well?
Yes.
Sorry to beat you to the punch, Bob. So this is very brief, and it's something that I would like to have on our agenda next meeting to discuss, obviously not at the strategic plan. You know, in lieu of what's going on around the country and around the world, and obviously in the context of our strategic conversation on race that's scheduled for tomorrow, I want to remind us of discussions we've had in the past year about our school mascot. We really didn't get very far in terms of progress with that, but I think that this is a striking reminder that we really need to have some sort of discussion about this. I have some ideas that I would like to float around before that meeting, but I wanted to take this opportunity to have that placed on our agenda for our next board meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Dr. Shabilsky.
Yeah, and just to tag on, I got two comments. Tag on to Greg's comment. You know, that certainly has been something that we been discussing, and it was actually, I think, folded into part of the strategic planning process, so that we were doing all of this, you know, in sequence as part of this revision. But I agree, it needs to be looked at along with a number of other things as part of that process. And it certainly, as you said, you know, the issues are certainly much more illuminated today. So my second comment was, we're expecting to see the state report on reopening this week. And one of the comments that has been one of the big items for discussion that has come up and concerns that exist, particularly with the various education associations and Dr. Jewett, certainly with the Superintendent's Association, is the need for health directives from the state, that they provide clarity and directions on what are the health considerations that we have to operate within, so that we can focus in how we provide educational instruction within that environment. There's some question about how clear or how explicit the state is going to be around that, but I think that we've got to be very, very careful as we work on our plans to make sure that that there's no ambiguity on how we are addressing the health, wellness, and safety of our students, faculty, and staff. We are seeing in other states where the guidance has been you know, suggested and pretty much left up to, you know, the eye of the beholder, that it's been chaotic. And I think that I think we need to try to learn from what's happening in other states and other districts to make sure that we keep those problems from at least coming into our community. So that's just more of something to pay attention to. This is going to get very complicated very quickly, and everyone just needs to be aware of the freight train that's coming down the track.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, it's going to be a very busy summer. And we're fortunate in Somerset County that our county health official is very responsive and very knowledgeable. And we've met with him several times. The 4 K-8 superintendents and I have met with him, as well as the consulting doctor for the county health department, to start talking about some of these things, because we are concerned that the guidance we get from the state may not be as clear and complete as we would like it to be. So I think you make some very valid points. But yes, there will be a lot of discussion on this over the summer, and our reopening teams are starting to meet, and, you know, which means I'll be reporting from them back to the board, you know, very frequently. But I am hoping that we get some more guidance in the coming weeks.
So to that extent, do you think we're going to have a need for additional board meetings?
You know, it's a
You don't
good
know.
question.
Okay.
I think that
Or committees.
I was going to say, I think what we will have more active committees over the summer than we have in the past. I think we'll be able to do, I don't know that a lot of the items are going to require board action other than some of the purchases that we'll have to make. But they certainly are going to require board support and some board discussion. So I think we'll be able to use the committees for a lot of that.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, our next, other than the strategic plan board meeting, our next board meeting is not till July 14th.
July 14th. Yep.
So in terms of, do you expect that we're going to have to start having committee meetings before the next board meeting of July 14th to discuss some of this stuff? Because I know that like the guidance has to come down. Yeah. You guys really have to discuss it. You kind of have to, get your the health guy on the phone and go.
It may not be a bad idea, because then we can, each of the, the reopening teams, like Tim's overseeing the operations opening team with the staff, he can then go to the operations committee of the board just to let them know what some of the initial discussions have been. Okay. Same thing with the curriculum. Yeah. A reopening team, that way I can share with education committee. So it's probably not a bad idea. Unfortunately, most meetings recently, we end up with more questions at the end of the meeting than solutions. But that, I think it's important for us to flesh all of that out right now, which we have been doing. And, we'll get even more aggressive with that in the coming weeks. So it's probably not a bad idea to have committees.
You can foresee that how each of our committees can have a role in fleshing out different issues. As they impact each of those committees. So I think it's important that we kind of maybe think about when we want to start to have those meetings, and if it makes sense to have, I don't know, if it even makes sense to have a standing committee meeting once a week, once every 2 weeks over the summer, so that we're clear. Because it just seems like the information that comes, it comes and then it changes, and it comes and it changes. And
yes.
And
what I'm thinking, maybe once I develop a schedule for the reopening team committees, then I can set up a schedule for board committee meetings to kind of piggyback those.
Okay.
So that, after we have those meetings, we can then have follow-ups with the board committees. And I'm thinking maybe probably every 2 weeks, unless something comes up that we need it, more often than that, which we may.
Okay. All right.
I would just say the operations committee should be just try to be available, because I mean the only thing is, there's a lot of different nuances to what, if you've read some of the documents from in-state, out-of-state, in terms of transportation, getting the kids to school. So I mean, I've seen anywhere from 12 kids on a bus, which, I mean, that just takes all of our transportation contracts and throws them right out the window. So, it depends on where we end up somewhere, that we're going to have to make some decisions rather quickly, I would think. So.
Well, and I think the other thing, and I think I said it at the last meeting, I'll say it again, there's not going to be any revelations coming from the state. Right. I think our superintendents and our county superintendents have a much better handle on what they need to do. Yes, there are a lot more questions, but I don't think that there's going to be a lot of great guidance coming from the state. It's going to be complex, and we're going to have to figure out how this 3-dimensional chess game works across all levels of curriculum, transportation, and PPP and all of those other aspects. So yeah, I mean and it's going to come fast and furious. I mean, because everyone thinks, oh, we've got plenty of time. We don't have plenty of time. We're late, and it's not the district's fault that we're late. And I want to make that very clear. But this could certainly have been handled much better than it has been. I'll just leave it at that.
Susan has her hand up.
Yeah, I had thought that the survey that we sent out was going to, or the questionnaire, whatever it was going to ask more explicitly if people intended to have their kids take the bus.
That's what we're going. So the survey we sent out a survey that the state asked us to send out.
Okay.
It actually did not have any questions about transportation on that. All the superintendents pointed that out. Yeah, what we're looking to do, and that's one of the tasks, the first tasks of each of the reopening teams is going to be just to discuss what pertinent information we think we should try and get through a survey of our own community, because I think we do need to ask those questions of who does plan on sending their child back to school if we reopen, who plans on having their child take the bus, those types of things. But yes, transportation was not on the state survey, and we all actually commented.
I was surprised.
We also did
Yeah.
suggest to the, we passed along through our county and superintendent to suggest that when the DOE does a survey like that, that perhaps they, if they don't want to ask people to identify their specific district, at least identify their county or their region, because there's regions of the state way down south that haven't really been impacted by this at all. So I would think their responses, because if they've had no cases of this, their responses to the survey are going to be very different from folks in Bergen County who are near the epicenter of it. So getting all of this information on a statewide level where it's not separated at all, it could be very misleading. So we did give some feedback, but we also all talked about in the county that, we think it would be helpful for us as individual districts to get that information.
So can't we send that out?
We're looking to do that. That's
Okay.
why, that's the first thing because I want to make sure before we do that, I want to get input from the different reopening teams to make sure we don't forget anything,
Right.
what else do we need to ask besides the obvious questions? So yes, we absolutely plan on doing that.
Okay. Any other business? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, you too. See you tomorrow night.
Take care.
Good night.